Mero goes off on Desus and exposes him for creating a fake persona in order to create a character for the Bodega Boys podcast. That's right, y'all. We here at The Stop have been noticing a serious escalation into the breakup between Desus and Mero. A lot of people remember that they broke up under weird terms, but these two are currently engaged in a back and forth. The type of back and forth that makes the Rory and Mal breakup with Joe Budden look like child's play. Recently, Mero launched his new podcast, Victory Light, which I thought was pretty cool and did give me some Bodega Boys vibes. However, somebody took to Reddit and decided to trash the podcast, basically saying it was garbage, and the kid Mero, through his official Reddit account, decided to defend himself and said, I could have easily found another Desus type and ran back the same formula, but it would be corny and stifling. I want to grow, not just the Victory Light pod, but Victory Light as a production house where you can come do your thing and not get notes from Yakubian CEOs that fail up. I wanted a woman's voice and another Bronx guy that wasn't just a guy pretending to have gone through all the same things that I did. Now, this is a big comment, as this gets at the idea that Desus was pretending to be something he wasn't for the sake of the podcast. If you don't remember, for me, listening to Desus and Mero, it felt like the commercialization of the New York persona. Yankee hats, bodegas. Something about it didn't feel authentic when I listened to it. And that something was Desus. I'm not taking sides here, but I remember many years ago wondering if Desus was who he said he was. Oftentimes, he would talk about being an OG and being on the block. He specifically said this during the interview with Taxstone. And I was like, is this guy really like that? And I said that because I'm not really like that, and I can tell when somebody's putting on a front. I'm not picking sides here, it's just what I saw. But this isn't the only thing that Mero said on his Reddit account. So here's what he said in another comment. The only difference between Rainey and Desus is that Rainey is who he says he is. A dude from the trenches in the BX who don't gotta craft a persona to hide the fact that he be watching anime and doing nerdy stuff. Listening to alt-ish and just generally not being a stereotype. Which is funny, cause old boy used to visibly bristle when people would professionally try to set us up, like let's play that you're from the Bronx, Tim's, chopped cheese, etc, etc. Dude couldn't wait to break free and sing Olivia Rodrigo at the top of his lungs, because dudes just can't be themselves. Oh my god, it's getting crazy, and Mero is calling Desus old boy. Everybody knows old boy means you really don't rock with somebody. This thing is getting really ugly, and the Bodega Boys podcast is looking like some behind the music type tragedy. But there's even more underlying stuff behind all of this. As if you remember, Desus and Mero ended under weird terms with Showtime, and it appears like during that whole back and forth, Desus sided with Viacom, Showtime, whatever that company is, and Mero wanted to go in a different direction. And as a result, the two find themselves at odds. So here's apparently what might be coming. My source told me that there's some type of dust-up, some type of racial discrimination thing that might have been going on dating back to the days of the production of the Desus and Mero Showtime show. So could it be that Desus and Mero are engaged in a legal battle, or will be engaging in a legal battle soon? Would it be over the fight of the Bodega Boys brand? Or is it because of whatever happened at Showtime? Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, if you look at this comment that Mero made on Reddit a little bit ago, you can kind of read the tea leaves. Dudes was all on my body like, where's the art? For months. And the type of dude I am would never just tell y'all, get it when you get it. With the podcast, bro, aka Desus, just stopped, period. Wouldn't respond to calls, texts, or emails, and never responded to anything in the general chat with the whole podcast team, which is just for us. Just to be clear, bro quit the podcast, okay? Like no call, no show type stuff. With the show, ratings were soft, and the Haptis execs kept pushing horrible notes on dudes while making us work with a production company whose selling point is we make stuff for cheap. And they pay themselves 7 figures before they figure out how to sink the rest of the budget. I think all the time what the show could have been if we worked with A24 or another company. And then Mero even shed light on why Victor was cast as some type of crazy man. Here's what he said. Victor lived in his office, crunching numbers. He yelled once because the morning he discovered his sister had a medical issue that made her severely immunocompromised, he observed the interim director inviting randoms to the set. Bro yelled, "This is BS. Why do we have COVID protocols if dudes are gonna ignore them?" And boom, he gets labeled the angry guy they need to scapegoat. He says a lot of other stuff, but then he wraps up by saying, "Let me wrap it up here. And I'll say this, one or two of y'all here on this sub have texts and emails and know exactly what the deal is. That's why they so convinced. But again, I'm not about to start posting screenshots to win some imaginary argument. I know exactly what the dude did to derail the whole thing. And I'm still playing it close to the vest. Cause I'll square up and knock this dude's head off his body before I get on some posting combos Erica Mena BS. So there you have it. Mero is saying that Desus sabotaged the Bodega Boys because he might have been unhappy with whatever the situation was. And is it possible that a lawsuit is coming? This is all ending pretty embarrassingly for Desus and Mero, as nobody could have imagined that whole Mero and Desus thing was just a facade of fitted caps and chopped cheeses. These guys weren't really friends, and they were put together like a boy band in the 90s. It's sad and represents the truth about podcasting. Oftentimes we listen to podcasts and we think that the people hosting the show are friends. But next time you listen to your favorite podcast, think about this. Are the co-hosts really friends or just pretending to be cool to pay their bills? Now, this is all obviously one-sided, as Desus has remained quiet throughout this whole back and forth, with Mero being the most vocal. But I do think Mero is telling the truth about Desus creating this tough guy OG persona in order to sell and market the Bodega Boys. But let me know what you think in the comments. What happens next for Desus and Mero? It's clear that everything is falling into place for both sides. As Mero has Victory Light, he also has that podcast he's going to do with Mello. And Desus is doing more TV stuff. I think he has a TV show coming. I gotta tell you, I enjoy Mero's content more. I know a lot of you in the comments are probably like, "Danny, you're so biased. You just pro Mero." I just like Mero. I feel like he's more authentic to me than how Desus came off on the Desus and Mero run. But that's just what I gotta say. I know Mero ain't perfect. He probably did some stuff I'm not aware of. So if you got the tea, drop it in the comments so that way I can report on it. But there you have it. There goes the embarrassing end of the Bodega Boys and the truth about podcasting. Alright, y'all, that's my video for today. I had to take a break from Joe Budden. I feel like the guys at the Joe Budden podcast just don't appreciate me enough. You know, they're really mean. Oh no, I just feel hurt. You know, I feel unappreciated if you ask me. I make content about their pod. I link the Patreon in the description. I do so in a nice way, and then they treat me like I'm just a nobody. It's so hard being Danny from the Stop. Anyway, I'm just kidding, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.
You come up with some really cool, even if I think they're asinine theories,